From BBC Learning English, this is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines.
In this programme, UN inquiry says Israel has committed genocide in Gaza.
Hello, I'm Georgie.
And I'm Neil.
In this programme, we look at one big news story and the vocabulary in the headlines that will help you understand it.
You can find all the vocabulary and headlines from this episode, as well as a worksheet on our website, bbclearningenglish.com.
So let's hear more about this story.
A United Nations investigation, called a Commission of Inquiry, has found that Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza.
Genocide is defined in the 1948 Genocide Convention as the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial or religious group, in this case, Palestinians in Gaza.
There are 5 acts of genocide defined under international law, and this new report says that 4 out of the 5 acts have been carried out by Israel since the start of the war with Hamas in 2023.
A number of international and Israeli human rights organizations, independent UN experts and scholars have also accused Israel of genocide against Palestinians in Gaza.
Israel's foreign ministry has rejected the report, saying that it is distorted and false.
Let's have our first headline. This one is from The Independent, a newspaper in the UK. Human rights experts join rising chorus that accuses Israel of genocide in Gaza.
That headline again from The Independent in the UK. Human rights experts join rising chorus that accuses Israel of genocide in Gaza.
So this headline is about the UN report accusing Israel of genocide in Gaza. Here we're looking at this phrase, rising chorus. Now, a chorus is a word which means a group of people who sing together.
Yes, that's the literal meaning, similar to a choir. Metaphorically, though, it means a group of people saying the same thing.
Yes, you'll often hear chorus modified with an adjective, so you might hear about a growing chorus, but in this case we have rising chorus.
And a rising chorus expresses the idea that a chorus is getting bigger or louder, that the opinion is getting harder to ignore.
Yes, so there were organizations before this UN report that had accused Israel of genocide in Gaza. That was the chorus, but now the UN report adds to that. There are more and more voices joining in, a rising chorus.
We've had rising chorus, more and more people expressing the same idea.
For example, there is a rising chorus of voices demanding action on climate change.
This is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. We're talking about a new UN report which says that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza.
As we've already heard, the report says that Israel has committed and is continuing to commit 4 of the 5 acts of genocide.
These 4 acts are killing members of a group, causing them serious bodily and mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions calculated to destroy the group, and preventing births.
Besides these acts, to be legally classified as genocide under the Genocide Convention, it must also be shown that Israel acted with specific intent to destroy the group in whole or in part. In other words, that genocide was their intention.
The UN report says there is evidence of genocidal intent in statements made by Israeli leaders and the actions of Israeli forces.
Israel denies all allegations that its actions in Gaza can be called genocide.
Here's our next headline. UN inquiry says Israel's war on Gaza is genocide, holds government responsible, and that's from Al Jazeera.
And that headline again from Al Jazeera. UN inquiry says Israel's war on Gaza is genocide, holds government responsible.
This is another headline about the UN report, which says that it holds the Israeli government responsible. But what does this phrase, hold something or someone responsible, mean?
It means you say that the person or organization is to blame for something. This phrase, hold someone responsible, is often used to talk about serious topics such as this one, or other legal, political, or formal contexts.
Now, a similar but slightly different phrase is hold someone accountable or hold someone to account, which means you make someone justify or answer for what they've done and maybe face the consequences.
Yes, so for example, if an investigation held a government responsible for a mistake, it means the investigation blames the government. But then if the public demands that those responsible are held to account, it means they want them to face consequences for their actions. For example, to resign.
We've had hold someone responsible. Say someone is to blame for something.
For example, the court held the company responsible for discriminating against older employees. This is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. Today, we've been talking about the Israel-Gaza war.
The UN Commission of Inquiry says its latest report was the strongest and most authoritative UN finding to date on the war.
However, Israel has accused the 3 experts who wrote the report of being Hamas proxies, in other words, acting on behalf of Hamas.
Let's have our next headline, this one from Channel 4 News in the UK. Sloppy and slanted, former Israeli PM on UN Commission genocide report.
And that headline again from Channel 4 News in the UK. Sloppy and slanted, former Israeli PM on UN Commission genocide report.
So this headline is about a former Israeli Prime Minister's reaction to the report.
So Naftali Bennett says the report is sloppy and slanted. Slanted means he thinks the report is biased or one-sided. But we're looking at this word sloppy.
Yes, sloppy means careless or messy. So in this story, the former Prime Minister of Israel is accusing the UN inquiry panel of not doing the work properly or carefully.
Now, as well as describing someone's careless work or behaviour, sloppy can also be used to describe someone's appearance if they look like they haven't made much effort. For example, the interviewer thought the candidate looked sloppy because he turned up in a dirty shirt.
We've had sloppy, careless and messy.
For example, his boss said his work was sloppy and made him do it again. That's it for this episode of Learning English from the News. We'll be back next week with another news story.
If you want to practice what you've learnt, go to our website to see more example sentences and to try our free worksheet.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. Find us at BBC Learning English.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.